G'day and welcome back. This is part 4 of my 4-part series on this Kriesler 11-104 radiogram. I serviced the radio, cleaned it up and did an alignment. That's all working beautifully. I repaired and refinished the cabinet and that looks fantastic. I'm really happy with that. I reconed the speakers and today I'm going to have a look at the little mystery package I've been keeping secret up until now. And here it is. It's an FM module and it converts a AM radio, which is becoming obsolete. AM's becoming obsolete in many parts of the world. With this little 2-part module, you can have AM and FM. If you don't need the AM, you can just go straight FM. The module has 2 boards. The lower one is the FM receiver, and the upper one is called an AM saver. If you want to retain the AM function on your radio, you use both boards. If you just want to go pure FM and not worry about AM, you just need the lower board. The FM receiver module uses the original tuner out of the AM radio to tune, so the FM is fully integrated into the radio tuning. This was sent to me by the Roehre YouTube channel in Germany. The channel owner, I'll call him Blitz from now on, he's a lovely chap. He has supported my channel for so many years. I have a permanent link to his channel in the description below all my videos. Now he also made a video of him using this receiver and setting it up in a radio he's got. I'll put a link into the description to those as well. The module itself was designed and sold by David Winter in France. Here's the website for the 2 modules. It's called Paleophones. I'll put a link in the description. It's in French by default. You can put it in English. If you need to, you can go to the translate function on Google Chrome and you can change it to any language you like. So there's the intro. There's the 2 boards. That's the FM board. That is the AM saver. And there's some info there on what it can do. To install it, it is over here. There's a page called Install, and that lists how to install it. It's pretty good. It probably could use a little bit more info, but generally it's pretty easy to follow. I couldn't find a way to download the instructions as a PDF or something, so I had to copy and paste it into Word. Here's the setup instructions here. This tells you how to set it up using the LEDs, and there's a little press button that you use to set it up. Now to buy these, if you buy it by itself, it's €29.9. If you buy that and the saver board as well, it's €44.9. I didn't think that was too bad. It's what, about 70 to 80 Aussie dollars, and I assume it'll be cheaper if you were to buy it in the US. So I'll just go back to the installation again. I have downloaded this, as I said, and copied it into Word, so I do have a hard copy. Here's the hard copy for the installation of the 2 modules. I won't go through point by point, but I will just highlight something they've said here. These are ESDS, so I'm going to use a wristband, of course, a static wristband. It also says you should be competent in electronics, so I might be in trouble there. It says ensure your radio is restored correctly and it's all working properly, and it suggests putting a suppressor capacitor on the on-off switch, so I can do that. Might be a good idea. It also says the FM module is sensitive to temperature, so if it starts getting too hot, it will drift. So you need to mount it somewhere cool within the chassis. It says here to ground the FM module to the chassis. There's 3 grounding points on it. It also talks about the tuning capacitor condition. It's got to be spotlessly clean, no shorts, clean between the plates, all that sort of thing. So that has to be checked and made sure it's perfectly clean. On page 2, there are 3 little diagrams of how to connect the power to the board. And in my case, I have a 6.3 volt heater winding, so I just connect it directly on there and it goes back to ground. It also talks about having 2.5 volt supplies and also windings with center taps. But in my case, I'm going to use that one. I have the module under the microscope. I'll have a quick look around at the pads on it. The AM saver is the top one here, and the receiver for the FM is down the bottom. Over here, that's the AC in. So you put whatever you're going to use, the heater power, or you can use a separate supply if you wish. These pads here with the brass spacer are the ground. There's a 5 volt out as well if you want to power something small with 5 volts. There's a switch there, that's for setting up the FM receiver. There's also a pad there so you can run a remote switch if you want to. That pad there is where it connects into the original oscillator on the radio. There's the antenna pad. It's only single and it's supposed to run off an AM antenna. I'll see how that goes. On the last side here, it's got left out, right out for the amplifier input stage. The top board is called the AM saver. If you want to retain the AM feature on your radio, you would put links from here and here up to the top. So you transfer the output from the FM board up to the top board, and then it would go out here left and right. The AM detector is where you break it away from just before the volume control, I think, and you would put it in there. That will deliver the AM signal into this board. As we saw a second ago, that's the supply for this board going in, and you need to transfer it up to the top board if you're going to use this one. They want you to put a diode in there if you're using the 6.3 heater voltage, so I'll put a diode in there. And likewise, this is the pad for the tuning capacitor, as we saw. You also have to link that up the top here as well. There's the FM AM switch, so you would run a remote switch to that, and you can switch between AM and FM. If it's closed, it is on AM. If you open it, it's on FM. I'll show how this connects later on, but that pad, as I said, comes off the variable capacitor. And this one here, when you lift the wires off to attach this, you attach those wires on here. And lastly, there's the website if you need more information. I need to install a switch to switch from AM to FM. So what I thought I might do is change this switch and put an extra position on it so I can go to FM. This is the original switch, pretty simple. It's a 2-position switch. It's only got 3 little switch plates on it. In a normal radio, when you fit the AM saver, you would just cut this wire here. That's the output from the AM radio, so it's a mono output. You would connect that to the AM saver, and then the left and right output from the AM saver would go into the left and right volume controls. So by upgrading that to a switch with more poles on it, I can now decide what's going to feed the 2 volume controls, whether it be the record player or the AM or FM, so I can switch those in and out. Another thing this switch does is this little plate here. There's the HT2 coming in there. It goes along there, feeds the plates and the screens for these 2 valves here, and also does the oscillator over here. So when you go to gram, that's disconnected. That whole AM section goes dead. Still got the filaments running, and that suits me when I put in the FM, because this will not interfere with the FM radio. I've worked out how to wire all this up, and I've made up some pretty amazing looking drawings here with all the wiring I need to do. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Before I start worrying about switches and changing wiring around, I'll fit the module and make sure it's going to work in my radio. I've soldered the links together as it says in the instructions. These 2 go to the output, left and right output, and this one is for the tuning capacitor. They have little white circles around the top there to denote which ones need to be linked. They tell you to link this one with a diode, and it says to put the diode with the anode towards the FM receiver. I've also put a wire on. This is the power supply from the heaters. I've also attached a wire to this antenna point. Once I get this installed, I don't think I'll be able to get a soldering iron in there. As far as installing it, I'm going to mount it up on the chassis here. I've drilled 3 holes already, and that matches the 3 holes in the modules. And I've got some little standoffs here. These are from Raspberry Top Hat boards or something or other. I just got them at the radio spares shop, but they're the right thread, 2.5mm, so they'll be perfect. I need to use the 3 nuts that came with the board, so I'll mount the standoffs using those and use the existing screws to mount into the standoffs. I've got the 2 nuts underneath, and I'll just tighten these loosely so that they can move when I mount the board. I've got to take the bezel off the front, and then I'll do the 2 nuts up tight once the module is mounted on it. The screws are going in and they're lining up so far. That's good. I've got the little spacer in there, and I'm putting the 3rd screw, and that's lining up as well, so everything's working out well so far. Here's the top of the volume control here. I'll just run a couple of jumpers from here onto the volume control for the time being, and if I switch the radio to gram, it'll remove power from the AM radio section. So I'll just solder the little jumpers on here and I'll come back. I've soldered those wires on there. This is the AM detector. This is where you'd normally bring in the AM radio section, but I'm not going to worry about it at this stage. I just want to get the FM working. I need to connect the oscillator section of the tuning gang to this point here. It says to attach it to the oscillator side of the tuning capacitor, and that's that point there. There's a green wire here, and that's going up to the oscillator coil, and there's a trimmer for the oscillator. They want me to leave the trimmer attached to the capacitor, but I need to cut this green wire here. I'll just snip that off. That's the easiest way to do it. There's another little contact for the oscillator tuner here, so I can run a wire from there up to this tuner one up here. This green one, I'll have to put a longer one on, and that goes up to this point here, which is the AM block. When the board's in AM mode, I guess these 2 join together and the oscillator's back in the AM circuit. So let me replace this wire here, and I'll put a new wire on there, and I'll come back. I've connected the tuning capacitor to this point here, and I've connected this point here to the oscillator coil. I think I'm ready to test this out. I've connected the power wire into the heater windings. I'll put the power on. The radio's not turned on yet. As I suggested, I've put a 10 nanofarad capacitor across the power switch. Now it says when I put power on, I should get a green light. So I'll switch it on at the radio switch here. Nothing. Oh, there it is. There it is. Now step one is put the needle right down the end of the scale. So we'll run it down to the end there. There's a little switch in there to set it up, and it just says push the switch. See what happens. It goes blue. Step two, it's gone blue. Set the needle to where the FM range ends. So I'll run it right up the other end of the scale. And press the button that says flashing blue. Step 3, use the dial to set the FM band according to the blinking LED colour. And we need 87.5 to 108 megahertz, so it's got to be green. So it says wind it down till it goes green for us. Feed away down. There it is. And press the button. And rapid flashing. Now step 4 is for de-emphasis, and we use the 50 microsecond. So it says to move the dial so the LED flashes green. Well, it's already flashing green, so I'll just hit the button again. Now we've got flickering. Step 6 is the auto frequency correction option. If we want that turned on, we've got to put it on blue. So I guess we wind this up till it goes blue. There it is. Right, so we should have auto frequency correction. If I push that, oh, there it goes. Ooh, that works. Let's turn him down a little. Let's see if we can tune something. Oh, look at that. I gotta get it off that. Ooh, a bit noisy. Wow, it's picking up hundreds of stations there.
Whether it's the quiet elegance of hard flooring or the cozy embrace of carpet, our range of flooring offers style that speaks to you. Plus, with our 100-day peace of mind guarantee,
balance works.
You can relax knowing you've made the right choice. Call or visit our showrooms in Bundle.
Wow, that's amazing. That's Gold Coast. That
home of fresh
station,
ideas.
whatever it is.
Summers must have drinks.
Alright, it's a bit noisy between stations there, but I believe the later versions of this module, the software's been updated, and I think it blanks between stations, so it's a bit easier to tune. So if you buy one of these now, I think you'll get the later version. That's what I believe has been done.
An immediate danger to lives and homes from Bernard Island.
It's not bad actually. The stronger stations it's pulling in. I've actually got my antenna pointing to the Gold Coast, otherwise the house is in the way, and I'm getting the Gold Coast stations and not the stations in Brisbane, which are the opposite direction. But that's amazing. I am absolutely blown away. I really thought I was going to blow this thing up, but no, used the right precautions, did what they said in the instructions, and it works first time. Absolutely, wow, I'm really happy with this. So now that I know that FM works, I can put the new wafer switch in and fully integrate it and get the AM to work as well as the FM and record player, of course. So let's have a look at doing that. Before we go on, I just realized it skipped a step somewhere here, and I think it skipped step 4. It went from 3 to 5, I think. I'm not sure exactly which step it skipped. So I've done this a few times now. I've reset it and just gone through it. I can do this in about 30 seconds now, but I can't work out which step is missing. The bottom line is that it is working. The automatic frequency correction is working. It's in stereo and it's on the right FM band. So I'll move on. There's obviously been a software change that's not reflected in the paperwork, or the paperwork's been updated and the software hasn't been applied to this module. So I've set it up to the flashing lights more than the steps. I'm going to look at this switch now. I only need 2 wafers, and I might be able to remove that top wafer perhaps. Just having a look here, I could actually put the nut back on there and pull that nut down, just cut the thread off there, but I think I'll leave the spacer there. And I'll put the nut back on and tighten it up. Just makes it a bit easier to get to, I guess. A little less congested in the radio. Okay, I'll do the other side. That's a little bit better. I could cut all these off, I guess. Oh no, I'll leave it. That's fine. I've taken the fascia away a bit, and I'm just taking off the original switch there. Okay. I've temporarily put in the new switch. Now to go to gram, we need to turn it that way, I think. And it was already in gram. Okay. A bit hard to see. This is in gram position. There's the locating pin up there, and you can see the flat on the shaft here, and it's just off a couple of degrees to the right of the pin, so I'll have to calculate that. I need to transfer it onto here. I'll put a ruler across there and mark here. That's where it's got to be cut off. I need to cut a flat on here as well, so I can use those two shafts next to it, and that'll give me the mark. So I'll just shade that in. That's the bit that's got to be flattened off. It's got to be cut off here. That little operation went smoothly. I've refitted the switch. I need to connect all the wires again. That's easy enough for me to do. I'll do that off camera. I've reattached the bezel as well, and I'll just put it up. I'll see what the knob looks like. There's the knob. I'll line it up, and I think it's a pretty good fit. Yeah, it's not bad. So radio, gram, yeah. That looks pretty accurate, good. And if I go to radio, and then I'll go over here to FM, and I'll make a little chrome vinyl sticker for there. Alright, leave this with me. I'll put all the wires on. I've got my little drawings here, although I think I pretty much know how to do it without the drawings. When that's done, we'll come back and see if it's going to work. I've completed the wiring. It was pretty easy. I've wired in the AM. I reserved the second layer there to switch the HT on and off to the AM section. So I've doubled that up. I've used 2 contacts to switch the HT just to make it a bit more beefy. So I think I'm okay. I'll flip it over. We'll see if it works. I've got the radio ready to go. I've put a loop antenna over the ferrite antenna to get some AM stations, hopefully. So I'll turn it on. And what are we on there? Radio. So it's on AM. There it is.
Large flames billow from a childcare centre near a synagogue in...
February's in. Book now at the ballpark.
All we've got to do is take the clothes off.
Right.
Throw away.
So the AM's working. That hasn't worked before with that module installed. So I'll go to FM now. There it is. Wrong one. There you go.
This is something that people in this great multicultural city of should never wake up to. And this...
te worden. Om publiek te worden, kunnen we de Nederlandse radar in.
You will know how good the Fleetwood Mac concert was. It was absolutely fantastic. Well, he'll be back again this Wednesday night as well, Herb.
So it works really well. It's a little tricky to tune. Yeah, it just makes that skipping noise and then it tunes in.
And now he's got some.
But it does work, and it works really well, picking up lots of stations.
The feature album is Jaguar.
I think that's our local station, about 10 k's away. Now I'll check the gram, I guess. Now I don't have the record player on, of course. This is where it plugs in, though, so I should get a hum from there. There you go. Around here somewhere. There's the other one. So that's good. Everything works. Very good. Sounds good. Sounds very good. Now another thing I need to do is check the AM alignment. I attached wires to the oscillator circuit, so that may have changed the capacitance. I'll set up and I'll check to make sure it hasn't moved. I've got the generator on 600 and I'll wind down the tuning, and we should line up with ZL if it's still okay. There it is there. So there's ZL's right on it, and we haven't got the signal. It's over there. This is the adjustment for the oscillator. So if I can find the slot, there it is. And I'll just wind that on a bit. See if I can move this. There it goes. Alright, that looks pretty good. That's right on ZL there. I'll go up and we'll check it at 1500. And we're looking for AK, which is right there. So that's 1500. I'll put the generator on 1500 and it's close. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's close enough. I'm not going to play with the other adjustment. While I've got the generator running, I might map out where the FM frequencies are. The idea is I might try and make a little scale to put on there. I've set the generator to 87.5 and I'll just turn it up. 87.5 is the lower end of the band, so that should be right at the extreme end. Oh, there it is. Alright. I'll set it to 108. And that should be the other end of the band. Set it up a bit. There it is. Oh, that's easy enough. Then I just need to mark both ends of the travel of the needle, and that'll be the two extremes of the FM. I might just mark where the center is just for fun. I'm sure it'll be accurate. So I'll go to 97, that'll do. That's not it. There it is. So I'll just put a little bit of tape there and mark it, and then I'll mark using the two ends of the pointer there. There's 97 there, there's 108, and there's 87.5. Okay, so that's 97. Alright, I'll see if I can make up a little vinyl sticker and put it on there. I printed out a little vinyl FM sticker to put on there. I'll wind it right down the end, and that should be 108 right there. If I line the little sticker up with 108 and try and line the letters up so they're level with the top, that should be it. The sticker has some clear tape on the top there, and with a bit of luck I should be able to peel it back and leave the text there. There it is. Printed out an FM sticker as well. I'll put that on, just cleaning it with some isopropyl alcohol. I've got to try and line that up now. No, it's stuck. Okay, well that's not going anywhere. It's slightly out. I'll print a little AM sticker to put in there as well. FM? AM. I've got a little AM sticker here. I hope that's straight. Yeah. It's not perfect either. I'll just check the FM or make sure it's where it should be. I still have the generator on 97 FM. If I come along here, where's 97? Right there. Come on, 97. Well, it's not there. There it is there. What the... I apologise for the technical problems we're having. What I worked out is this 108 here is a range. The capacitor that this uses is obviously not changing in capacitance the last little bit. So I marked 108 here and put my sticker on using 108 as the starting point. So it doesn't work, and it also is all compressed. So I'm going to go along and mark them. I've done 108, 106, 104. So I'm going to do 102. Turn it down, 102. That's right there. So I'll have to remove this masking tape, scan it, and I'll put it inside my program that I use to make the stickers with, and then I'll match it up to this. So they're not even. Look, that's closer than that and that. So I'll have to go along and do this all the way down. So I'll do that. I'll print out a new sticker, I'll stick it on, and then we'll check it again. Right, I've put the new sticker on it, and it is well spread out. I was a bit silly thinking it was going to be linear. Of course it's not, because those mechanical tuners just aren't necessarily linear. So I've got it just short of 88. The generator's on 88, so we should hear it. There it is, spot on. I'll go to 90. There it is. 92. Yeah. 94. Yeah, so it's perfect now. So if you're going to do a little dial, if you use one of these things, you need to map it out first. While I was making new stickers, I replaced the FM and AM sticker as well. They weren't quite right, so that'd keep me awake at night. I think that's it for the installation of that little FM module, and I'm very much impressed with it. With that all done, I'm going to put this back in the cabinet. I've put everything back in the case, I've put the back on, and I've made a little terminal strip up here. It's got AM and ground. It's got a single terminal for the FM, and I made a little sticker for it. Let's see how it goes. I'll turn it on. It's warmed up, I'll turn it up.
Kind of decided to realise to split and go her own way and change things up, which was along the way, which is with Taylor Townsend, and they're having plenty
To the UK to see Oasis live.
chill out. What she yelling for?
You really lose. I drive 4 hours northeast of Minsk and discover that this fear of chaos and
That's the FM tuner test. I won't put it on AM because I don't have an AM antenna in here. If you've got an old AM radio that you can't get AM anymore, this is quite a good little option, and you don't need to put Bluetooth on. Bluetooth's good, but you got to sit there mucking around with phones and streaming. This works just like a normal radio. Turn it on, tune it in, and you can just leave it all day. I've had this running for a few days while I was doing other things, and it was perfect. It just kept running in the background there. It was good, and the stereo imaging is good. The sound's good. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I reckon they're a good option if you want to get one. I'll put it on Gram and I'll put a record on. That's it for this video series. I'll just let Al sing to himself there for a minute. As I said, I've been using this radiogram, the radio and the record player, over the last few weeks, and I really like it. I know it's distorted, and I know that it's just two drivers. I realise it's got limitations. It was the base model. It was designed for mum and dads that wouldn't know the difference. The kids can play some records. That's what it was designed for, and that's what it does. It was a budget model. I hope you enjoyed watching me today and for the entire series, and I hope you can join me next time for my next radio adventure.